Good morning, Don Airy here again with a Maine story for you. You notice I'm not talking with my Maine accent. There's a particular reason for that. I mean, some of my Maine accent I just can't avoid. It comes natural, I guess. But I thought I'd do something a little different and I'd tell you how to tell a good Maine story. It's sort of an instructional period, and well, it's my theory about how to tell a good Maine story. And if you want to practice it, you could probably become an expert yourself. My theory is that it takes about a quarter of an ounce of truth. You need to do that just because it confuses people when you tell the truth. It takes about 3 ounces of lie, outright fabrication, just make something up, and about 3 ounces of exaggeration. Exaggeration is also part of the confusion of the story, and exaggeration is the essence of good storytelling. You need to do that because it puffs up the truth. It could be true, might not be true, could be partly true, it's dramatic. It's the dramatic part of the story, the exaggeration, and that's what makes it fun, see? And then to make a Maine story, you have like a little salt shaker. And in that salt shaker are bits of little things of sarcasm, and the sarcasm is made up of these little granules. And one of the granules, or one part of the granules, there's three different parts. Some of them are hard like sand, and if you bite on them, it's like biting on sand, and that's the bitter sarcasm. That's you bite on it and go, that hurts. You don't want to have too much of that. And then there's the sarcasm that's it's like peppercorn. Like if you were eating it and you bit on that and it just explodes in your mouth with this peppery so you go, whoo. That's pretty hot, and that's good. That's sarcasm. That's pretty good. It makes a story interesting and fun, and people like that. That makes it good. And then there's the other kind of a granule that people bite on it, and it just fills their mouth with its sweetness, and it makes them like they want to slap their knee, and they makes them want to say, "Oh man, I wish I thought of that." So those are the 3 kinds of sarcasm, and you can use any of them at all, or you can take the salt shaker or the shaker of sarcasm and shake it all through the story, and just mix it all up. You mix all that together, so people that are hearing the story, they can't tell which is which, And so now I'm gonna turn on my Maine accent. There's a little dial right here, can dial it up, and I'm gonna tell you a Maine story, and you'll see there. Maybe all parts of the example, or maybe you can't figure out any of it at all. Okay, so one day last summer, I was sitting down in the Oaks Park. That's official name's called the Deering Oaks. The Deering Oaks was donated to the city of Portland in 1875, and then around 1879, I think, it was designed by the Olmsted brothers. It was an architectural firm. These are the same folks that designed Central Park. Can you believe that? I want to break off here a second. That was the 1/4 of truth. I'm cheating. I'm telling you the part that's actually the 1/4 of truth. That's the only part of their story that is actually 100% true. Okay. I was sitting down in the park and just minding my own business, contemplating the greater mysteries of the universe. One arm along the other, and that's just sitting there, and an older fella, he come down and sit next to me, and he turned over to me and he says, "Good morning, Sonny." Called me Sonny. Quite a compliment, I thought. I took it as a compliment. They called me Sonny. And I says, "Hey, how you doing there, young fella?" Complimented him right back, and he smiled. He took it as a compliment. And he looked over me kind of askew, and he says, "You happen to be retired?" Because it was a Wednesday, and, mid-afternoon, and we're both sitting there in the park, nothing to do. That's pretty good logic for him to use, figuring that I'm sitting there with nothing to do. And I said, yes, I'm retired every single day, Saturday. I'm loving it, pieces. He says, are you retired? And he says, yeah, I'm retired for sure. Loving it just as much as you. He says, what you retired from? He asked me. And I told him, I was a software engineer. And then, I told him I had an experience. I like to tell people that I got laid off as a software engineer when I was 2009. And then I said, I did a really strange thing. He says, for the last 5 years before I retired, I successfully impersonated a Massachusetts state corrections officer. And he slapped his knee. He says, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I turned over and I said, what did you retire from? He said, well, sir, and he kind of stuck his chest out a little bit, and he says, I was in Maine state legislature for 47 years. I said, glory, that's a long time to survive in such a harsh political environment. And he says, you just ain't worse than Dixie, mister. He says, it was. He started telling me about all the bills that he'd got to pass. He was kind of into conservation, and he talked about he'd protected the North Maine woods, and how he had a lot of effect on cleaning up the Androscoggin, the Penobscot River, and all these different things that he'd done, and he was just so happy about the accomplishments that he'd managed to get through the Maine state legislature. And it was just quite an amazing conversation. And then he says, kind of looked at me kind of askew, he says, you a Democrat or Republican? And the word Democrat came out like it was a curse word. I said, oh no, I'm a conservative Republican. And I says, and I tell you, I'm the worst kind of conservative. I'm a Christian conservative. And he grinned from ear to ear, and he shook my hand. He said, well, God bless you, brother, so am I. And we were instantly friends after that. He says, I'm certainly glad to meet you. And we got to talk a little more after that. And then I said something else. I said, 47 years in the Maine state legislature. You must have seen an awful lot of changes come over the state of Maine. And then something came over his face. It just kind of darkened a little bit, and his eyes got all squinty. And he took my hand in his, and he took his other hand, and he patted it, kind of gentle-like, but he was holding my hand firmly. He says, yes, sir, I did. I saw an awful lot of changes. He says, but I want you to rest assured, Johnny, I voted against every gall-darned one of them.